3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sonic Host Coast to Coast. My name is Radley, and I'm here today with Malzilla. So, Malzilla, how are you today?
I'm doing good. It's Friday. We are 1 week as of this recording to Sonic 3, and things are hitting DEF CON 5. This week I know you were kind of underwhelmed with it, or they kind of jumped the shark on those Sonic 3 Christmas posters that they just like dropped 10 of them. I thought they were going to do 12 for the whole 12 nights of Christmas, but um did you watch the little claymation short that they made?
Yeah, that was cute. What's that one? What are those? What is it? Back in the day, they used
Rankin
to
Rankin
Rankin Bass.
Bass.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
kind of very Rankin Bass style. It was fine.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Rangers. Apparently they put the song on Spotify today, and it's kind of a bop, and I got stuck in my head while I was at work. But yeah,
That and jelly roll, huh? You jam the jelly roll while going to work. You buying a hot chili dog and doing all that great stuff.
exactly.
Okay.
Let's see what else happened. I don't know if you saw earlier today, but they released some B-roll footage of Keanu, Idris, Ben, and Colleen in the VA booth recording lines.
Oh yeah, I saw you post that in the server. Yeah.
It's actually really funny, is where it's like you can tell Keanu's trying to figure out how to do things and say things. Well, Idris has the big knuckles gloves while he's delivering his lines. And then, for Ben and Colleen, it's second nature to them. I mean, of course, obviously we all know Colleen is a voice actress by trade. She's been Tails for 10 years now, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and Ben's done a bunch of voice work over the years, so this is easy peasy for them.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of interesting. Someone said, "Oh, big surprise! The voice actors are the best. You know, give the best performance." Because a lot of people don't like when celebrities get these voice roles. But
Well, I mean, what's
yeah,
it
it's
with Keanu? This isn't his first rodeo, though. He's like done
yeah.
like Batman or something, or
He's done a couple of voice roles here and there. He was Batman in, I think, like the Crypto the Superdog movie. He was in Toy Story 4. So this isn't his first rodeo, but let me tell you, I played the Sonic Movie 3 DLC for Sonic X Shadow Generations last night, since that also came out, and his performance is kind of funny. Hearing him say Chaos Control and kind of this, it seemed like that they just let him do only one take for those lines. They were kind of flat, but it was still
hmm.
pretty awesome,
Well,
because
yeah.
it's basically
Okay. Well, I haven't played Shadow Generations, so I can't really have
yeah.
an opinion. Or I haven't even touched that DLC. I mean, that was really hyped, that DLC. Yeah.
No, I mean it's only like one level and two challenges, so it's like $7 if you want to buy it, but it's kind of like, okay. I don't know if I would have charged for it.
Did you like it?
I do
What's your
like it.
letter
It's
grade?
I give it an A. I mean,
You liked it, huh?
the level, yeah, the level itself, because you're rolling through Tokyo, is pretty insane. There's a couple ridiculous set pieces where he's grinding up the Tokyo skytree as a Apache attack helicopter is shooting missiles at him, and then he just chaos controls and just takes them all out.
Okay, that does sound interesting.
Because it's funny, because this is Game Shadow in Movie Shadow's body.
Okay.
So it's kind of like he makes a comment, it's like, I can't use all my abilities. Or he's like, I gotta go back to my mission. So it's kind of funny, because it's kind of like, oh.
Okay. So I guess in preparation for all of this, we watched the Sonic 2 movie, full
Yep.
disclosure, to prepare for this third Sonic film that's coming out, since it's such a, big tent pole of an event, because it's, as reading the writing on the wall, it seems like these movies are like, uh, the top banana. They're the ones that like sort of dictate the way the franchise is going, and what we're
Oh,
gonna see
absolutely.
and what we're not gonna see. Because obviously before it was always just the games, but now it's getting to this point to where we start to see what advancements, Sega is doing with these movies. Well, I
Well,
guess
they
not
had the
not just
London.
Sega, I guess also Paramount as well.
Yeah. They had the London premiere this last week. We actually know someone who actually went. Cassie found a way to go, so hats off to her. She's keeping tight-lipped though. She's not giving any spoilers, so good for her. But the initial social embargo tweets, which usually when they lift the social media embargo, 95% of the comments you're going to get are these super positives because it's all people who've been invited by Paramount to the show, so they're all just happy to be there. The actual review embargo is next week on the 18th, so that's when
Is
we'll
it?
kind of get more,
Okay, I didn't know.
horribly more nuanced opinions. But I'm looking at the tracking, and right now it's looking like anywhere a low of a $74 million opening and a high of an $89 million opening weekend,
Okay.
which even on the low is better than Sonic 2, which we're going to talk about. And even its domestic projections are higher than Sonic 2. They're thinking it could make anywhere from 231 million to 312 million dollars, and Sonic 2 only made 198 million domestically. So
Mm-hmm.
uh and on the international front, obviously they were at the Brazilian Comic Con. It seemed to be, I think Brazilian's one of the top 3 markets for Sonic outside the US.
Mm-hmm.
I also saw supposedly it's getting a China release in January, and if it gets a China release, that's probably at least, this could make 700 million plus at the global box office, which would be insane. Almost double.
I'm typing in right now Sonic 3 release dates and country wise. I
Hmm.
wonder if Japan's at the very end of the list again.
No, it's only a week after the US, remember?
Well, I mean, like, how is it released in terms of like the other countries? Is my question. It's
Oh,
like,
I think there's a few like Indonesia and the Philippines that are getting it in January.
yeah, because I mean that's just the way things go with, Japan. They always wait to see how the rest of the world handles it. So it's usually pretty rare when Japan gets at the same time or around the same time as everyone else. So,
Well,
uh,
again, as you and I have talked about a lot, Sega's trying to get that Japan market up, and
good luck.
they named it. Yeah, I mean the movie in Japan is called Tokyo Mission, so we'll see.
Hmm. So I guess we should probably go into the movie proper. Malzilla, how was your second viewing or third viewing or whatever viewing this is that you did of this
I think
Sonic 2 movie?
I think I'm gonna say it's probably around my fifth viewing
Holy
collectively,
shit,
since
this is my second. So,
well, it's more like I travel a lot for work, and since I fly Delta, and Delta has a deal with Paramount because I got Paramount Plus on there.
mm-hmm.
So, Sonic and Sonic 2 have been on like most of the flights I've been on in the last year and a half, and a lot of times, I need an hour and a half to 2 hours to kill. Might as well watch Sonic 2
Okay,
if it's
so
available.
this just in. This sound cool. This just in. Japan
Breaking
is not
news.
on the list. It's not on the list as last. Oh wait, hold on. Is it? Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, Japan comes out December 27th, 2024. The last place to get it is Turkey, January 17th, 2025. So we're not last. Hooray! You know, I can't
Sorry,
tell you.
Turkey.
I guess I had another question for you, but uh, well, let me say this for my next question. First, I should
Hmm.
say, yeah, this is my second viewing. I think I like the first movie better, maybe because it's been such a long while. Um, I don't know. I have thoughts about it. I mean, Jim
Let's get into
Carrey.
those thoughts.
What's that? Yeah, no. Jim Carrey kind of seems like he's doing more of a shtick than he's doing like I felt like he was more of a real character in the first movie when he had that first interaction with Tom. I was just surprised by how well I enjoyed that one interaction. And we don't really get that in this movie. And this one
And
just
I'm gonna you're completely vibing with a thought that I had when I watched the film
okay.
again.
Okay.
And it kind of goes into a topic because I'm gonna say I like Sonic 2. To me, it is better than Sonic 1. It is a better movie, and it is also a better Sonic movie because, as we've also talked, Sonic 1 is a good movie with Sonic in it, but not necessarily a good Sonic movie with its lack of fidelity. Yeah, you remember that? Sorry, folks, that's an inside joke for coasters. You'll know it.
Hey, our audience is super educated. So they should know by now. If you don't know what it
They should
is,
know.
Google is your friend.
Or watch our last episode on Sat AM to learn our fidelity joke.
We have a lot more fidelity jokes to go, so definitely check those out.
But so, obviously Sonic 2 had its variants, but it still incorporated a lot of Sonic stuff. That being said, I'm with you. I think there was some stuff that was lost from Sonic 1 to Sonic 2. Especially in the flow and the pacing, and of course, a lot of people want to point fingers at the wedding scene. It's just, I think it's a case of when they sidelined Tom and Maddie, they kind of eliminated some of the fun character interactions. Because again, Tom and Robotnik were fun to see each other, like, throwing shade at each other in that first movie, and, they don't see each other till the very end of the film. It's like, the pastry king. It's like, it's the donut lord, and I'll kick your butt again, blah, blah, blah. And they really did, in 2, focus more on Robotnik and Sonic and Robotnik and Knuckles. And while I think they did there was some good chemistry, especially because there was some great moments where, like, Knuckles, he's going with Robotnik, but Robotnik's saying some things, and you can kind of see Knuckles kind of gives them some looks like, says, I don't agree with you. You can, and it was obviously kind of telling Knuckles is a good guy. It's just he's kind of, been duped by Eggman.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts exactly? Did you enjoyed it? You didn't enjoy it?
Oh, yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I think the first act, with the arrival of Tails and Knuckles, I like that opening scene on the Mushroom Planet with Jim. That was classic Jim Carrey. His internal monologue of him going slightly insane due to the mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, you got his appearance with Knuckles and the I'd be happy to show you the way. Of course, everyone who knows Sonic knows that was probably allusion to the Uganda Knuckles meme. Do you know the way?
Yeah, when was that a thing? That was like a really big thing for a little while.
Yeah. It was pretty bad.
Okay.
The opening scene, for Sonic in Seattle doing his whole Blue Justice Batman thing, which is now funny because, in a few months we're going to get the Sonic DC, Justice League crossover, though it's Shadow who's Batman. But it was good.
Shadman.
Shadman.
Huh?
Yeah. See what you did there. What you did there. But we also kind of see, you and I had talked about how in movie 1, Tom was kind of Sonic's friend, but this is kind of the movie where it transitions from the friend to the dad. They talk about family.
Mm-hmm.
Again, family's kind of a strong thing. But
well,
again,
they can't have ships in these movies, so they gotta have family.
Well, we'll see what happens when, eventually Amy shows up.
I don't think they can do it. I think that she's just going to be like a side girl. Or not a side girl. I shouldn't say that. I mean, she's just going to be on the sidelines. I don't know. We'll see.
Are you sure? Are you sure she's not Sonic's side piece?
Maybe. maybe.
Sorry, Amy fans. Sorry. But yeah, so I liked it. I really liked the ice cap snowboard sequence in Russia. That was fun. Um, that was a great act too. I'm sorry, I loved the dance off to Uptown Funk. I'm sorry, it was a dated song when they did it, but
You don't have to be
it
sorry. It's
vibed
fine.
to
You
me.
can enjoy this. Don't let anybody tell you what to enjoy. That goes for anybody out there who's like a Sonic fan and somebody tells you that like this is really bad. Everything you like about it is bad. I don't know why they sound like Trump, but they're really bad for some reason. Um, um, just remember, I mean, this is my PSA moment for this show and this show in particular. Um, as somebody, okay, I will preface this by saying I'm an idiot. Okay, so everything I
You're not an
say,
idiot.
what? No, no, no. I say I'm an idiot for a good reason. Because I may have opinions about things. There may be things I don't like, and there may be things that I think I understand and I pretend to understand, or I gatekeep, certain things about things that I like about Sonic the Hedgehog. But with all that being said, remember, these are just our opinions and the way we feel about something. And remember, something that every Sonic fan should remember, a lot of fandoms like this one are, infested with a bunch of idiots. So whenever someone tells you how to enjoy something, just remember that they're hyper focused on like one part of this, the fandom. That, if somebody tells you can't enjoy something, I mean, unless it's illegal, of course, don't let them get you down. Don't let them destroy your dreams. Believe in yourself. Show us your passion. Because the Sonic fandom, I've met a lot of great people through, the Sonic fandom in general. And I guess this kind of like leads into the question I was going to ask you, but I guess sort of how I'm going to answer this question myself. Like, what's my relationship to this movie? As you may or may not know, Malzilla, I met Malzilla through the Bumblecast server, which is Ian Flynn's, I guess you could say it's his server. It's his server, yeah?
It's his
Ian
server.
and Kyle's server.
Yeah.
And, we were just, a lot of people were in there just chatting. And, we were talking about the countdown, pretty much, or we were there to like, on the sidelines, waiting for the second Sonic movie to come out. And I was lamenting about how I couldn't get it in Japan early enough, and all this stuff. So I've made a lot of like friends through probably, just being a fan of this series, right? Because I have other people that I know here in Tokyo, who actually one of them who I've mentioned before. I could say his name. He's a public figure. My friend Norman England. He's worked with a lot of Godzilla movies. He's on IMDb. He mostly does subtitles, and a lot of how he got to where he was is just being a fan of Dawn of the Dead, like an old zombie movie, right? And then that led
The
to
OG.
like, yes, the OG Dawn of the Dead, the 70s one, not the 2004 one by Zack Snyder. But the reason why he was just a big fan of that film, and then that led to I forgot exactly what happened. He writes about it in his book here. I'm going to plug his book. He's a good writer. He's always entertaining. He wrote a book called Behind the Kaiju Curtain, where he wrote about working on GMK. Mazil, help me out here.
Godzilla Monsters All Out Attack.
Yes, that one.
It's for the uninitiated. It is kind of almost the mirror-verse Godzilla movie where Godzilla's the bad guy and the good guys are Mothra, Baragon, and Ghidorah. So Ghidorah's a good guy in this one. It's kind of weird. It's very popular. I'm not too high on it. I think it's a little overrated. But that's just me.
Okay, so he worked pretty heavily on that film, and like he has a lot of set photography. He got to wear the Godzilla suit. So I mean, with this story in mind, what I'm trying to say here is, what this fandom has really created for me and probably a lot of other people is sort of this kind of a strong community. Now I know that this is something I'm going to get into with this episode. Is the one thing I really kind of had a problem with this movie is there are certain moments when I'm sitting here watching it, And I'm asking myself, this doesn't really challenge me. I don't really feel compelled, to get through it. Opposed to like, how some movies in general, like I guess you could argue like some movies are evergreen. You can watch them at any time, or they're timeless, or they bring back certain memories or events that, that were important to you. This one was sort of like, I kind of felt like Jim Carrey was kind of playing up to like, he's like doing a show just for himself. Like he's doing a stand-up act. And it got to the point where it's like, am I watching a movie or am I watching sort of Jim Carrey doing a shtick for children opposed to, a wider audience?
Well, if you think about it, you're not entirely wrong, because a lot of his scenes outside the couple times with Agent Stone and the Mean Bean Machine, or the Mean Bean Coffee, which is a fantastic Easter egg. It's one of the best ones in the franchise. And then, him and the giant egg robo, and then him talking to Tom and Maddie, outside the Mean Bean. He's primarily just acting with the game characters. So when you're filming that, it's basically Jim and those little stand-in, marionettes
Yeah, you're not
of the
wrong.
characters.
Yeah.
So, it is kind of a one-man show. And it's going to be even crazier in movie 3, where he's basically acting opposite of himself, because it's going to be, he's playing Gerald.
Yes.
You almost like, if he's good enough, it's just like, does Jim Carrey deserve an Oscar for basically? No. Well, we don't know yet. We haven't seen the movie.
And I was looking at the Rotten Tomato scores for both of these movies, and they're both pretty much the same. And I'm gonna have to agree with them. Not to say that the movies are bad by any means. It's just, it's not like, this isn't Citizen Kane. This isn't like Oscar bait. This isn't any of that stuff. But I mean, I guess. Maybe call this a false equivalency. I know Oscar movies like have a certain tone and a certain flavor. Like, for example, Oscar movies themselves, they never like movies like horror films or like genre films, they usually never make it to the Oscars. So I understand.
Because yeah. Again, the Academy Arts and Sciences that do the Oscars, they're cinephiles of the highest,
You'd like to believe that, but there is like a certain like standard with how they vote in certain movies, and it's all about politics. Absolutely. And it's not. Yeah. But I guess in terms of what I'm trying to say is, we're talking in terms of like, the Scorsese line, absolute cinema. I would put this, somewhere more in the B range and nowhere near the classic A range.
Well, it's interesting you bring up the Rotten Tomatoes, because I brought that up. I'm calling it give the coasters some, the first Sonic movie got 64% on the tomato meter, which is all professional critics. But it got a 93% on the popcorn meter, which is, fan write-ins. Basically, people, your non-critics.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic 2 got 69% on the tomato meter and 96% on the popcorn meter. So it was better, at least according to Rotten Tomatoes, than I think, to be, at least, and I'm sure some of our, coasters will remind me, but I think you need to get 70% to be certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
So, but even then, a 69% from critics. Here's the critic consensus. It isn't as much fun as the Little Blue Guy's greatest games, but if you've enjoyed the first film, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 serves as a generally acceptable sequel. The audience says a fun, fast-paced improvement on the original, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is like a video game come to life. And for once, where a movie's concerned, that's actually a compliment.
Why did that sound like something Penders would say? I don't know why. Sonic may be fast, but he wasn't as fast as
Jeffrey.
No. Let's not repeat that line. That line demands to be kept in a box and buried under the ocean, never to be seen again. Well, no, we will talk about it. I take that back. We will probably talk about that again and again and again and again. Because the internet doesn't forget, it only remembers when Oh no, I take that back. Again, I take that back because it only remembers when it's convenient and what and the metadata that exists and when it wants to remember. I don't understand the internet. Let's move on.
Let's move on.
uh, okay. So a question here,
Mm-hmm.
Malzilla, who is your MVP for this movie? MVP meaning most valuable
Most
player.
most valuable player. Now that's a good question. 'Cause I have
On second
that's
rewatch, I would probably say Tails. I think Tails really brought it home.
really
He was the most fun, I thought. Because
okay.
he's the character that comes in to try to save Sonic, and I guess what one thing in terms of like a real life example, it's sort of like picture yourself as someone who watches someone on Twitch, or you watch your favorite creator on YouTube or something, and you sort of like you identify with them, but like you don't want to come off as like this creepy stalker or this guy who's overly obsessive, or gal who's overly obsessive, whoever it is that's watching. And you want to generally see them succeed, and you want to see them triumph. And I sort of feel like Tails in that regard, kind of like it probably struck home with a lot of people, like this sort of character, because I meet people who are just strictly, I'm a Tails guy, right? I like Tails the Fox, or I guess he's just named Tails, or Miles per Hour. Like I met
Miles Tails Prower.
Yes. So so fun story. Um my girlfriend recently went to Shijan. For our audience out there who probably don't know what Shijan is, that's perhaps the name Uyghur. The one of the I believe this is the like near the autonomous region of China. It's near Tibet. It's right near the
Sure.
border of Russia. And so she recently went there to like I guess because her mother has a friend who lives there, and like people like me as an American, I can't go there because of reasons I'll get into another time. But what was really interesting, the reason why I bring this up is her friend has like a relative who, what I got to their house here in Japan to go for like a dinner for the weekend. The guy has a huge Tails like doll, not a doll, but like a little figure that's like in the dashboard of his car. And I'm like, I gotta talk to this guy about this. Like, you don't just have a Tails, figure in your car and, not be a Sonic fan. You're like, I don't know, I found it on the street. It looked cool. Like, no. I know this guy's a Sonic fan. So, and I mean, I sort of I ask questions about it, like, why does he like Tails and that sort of thing. He's always really resourceful, and he has like he's clever, and I think like I guess what I'm trying to say with all this is that I feel like he's the most with a lot of people who like Sonic, a lot of people identify with this sort of character in this regard.
Okay. Um, I liked Tails. I think
Wait, who
he
is
was
your
a.
MVP?
I'll get to that. I just want
Okay,
to play
all
off
right.
this
You
Tails
have thought
comment.
about this Tails thing? Okay,
Yeah. Um, I would say I think I'm in the camp that I think he was a little underused
okay,
because if you think about in the context of the franchise, the Sonic Tails dynamic is one of the oldest things in the franchise. You know, Tails is his little buddy, his sidekick. You know, the two of them are a duo that you could probably put them. They're right. You could put them right on the same pedestal as Mario and Luigi in terms of known duos. Mario, Luigi, Sonic, and Tails.
right.
Um, I think the movie did a good job of kind of giving them a banter. Like they bonded pretty quickly. I probably would have liked to seen him do a little bit more, but the fact that Knuckles was in it kind of probably put a little bit of a clamp on it, which actually leads me to my MVP. And I think Idris Elba's Knuckles was one of the best things of it. I think um, there are a couple lines as I was watching it were kind of rough. especially compared to some of his lines that we've seen in the trailers for Sonic 3 or is in the Knuckles. I feel like he's really grown into the role and he's kind of said, "Hey, this is my take. I'm rolling with it." Also, the fact that he wears the big Knuckles punching gloves while voicing the character is hilarious. You know, I support that type of method acting. Um, but I think he had some range. He had some funny lines. He had some awesome lines. Like they animated him well. He didn't feel like just I'm gonna be the angsty, which that's more. We'll get to him with Shadow. Like there felt like there were layers to his characters. I go back to the scene on the beach of them, talking about because again they are connected by this event where the Kindas were chasing Sonic, and guess Longclaw killed them all before dying, which the Knuckles show touched on that a little bit more, but from kind of almost a contradictory, I feel like there's more story to that scene than, they've kind of given to us, but, them talking about what it means to be a hero, kind of how they were able to overcome the trauma of losing family and Sonic saying, "Hey, I found a family, you can too," and then Knuckles kind of agreeing with it and his own way becoming Sonic's brother alongside Tails and you know again I think yeah, I think I'd say Knuckles is my MVP of movie 2.
Okay. I mean, if you think about it, we've seen this, thing before with Hollywood movies, particularly like with Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, where you have the problem of introducing too many characters that don't fit the movie. But I guess you could probably say this is more of a Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
I guess probably this works because you didn't introduce two villains. You introduce a new hero or a friend. Because I mean, basically what I understand about writing, because I've, full disclosure, I'm going to say this again and again and again. I went to college for this type of thing. I took storytelling classes and how to write for film and the philosophy of film and blah, blah, blah. A lot of what it is that usually you need to have a couple of different archetypes of characters, to make I guess for lack of a better word, a recipe of a great movie, right? Or not maybe I shouldn't say a great movie. A movie that suffices.
A coherent movie.
A movie that doesn't feel like a hot mess, doesn't feel like, I don't know, has too much salt in it. To go back to the metaphor of food, too much salt or I don't know, too watery or one or the other. It's something that suffices, that makes people actually want to digest it, And I had no trouble digesting this movie. I mean, I had a little trouble in the beginning. It's because as I was saying earlier, it's just that the whole Jim Carrey shtick. I guess this brings me up to my my question. So what did you think of Jim Carrey this time? Did you have any thoughts about this?
I do.
Okay.
I think you made a valid point because in movie 1 he was always either acting opposite of Stone or Tom, and to an extent Sonic. So, he has that actor to actor, presence. Because in this one, don't get me wrong, there's a couple of great scenes. Like when they're in the mean bean where they converted it into the base and, Knuckles reading the chat, the ... and you just see Stone and Robotnik just kind of slowly turn and look at him, and they kind of slowly turn to look at each other, and then Stone's like, "Doctor, where did you get this imbecile?" And he's like, "Well, he's the key to something big. It's been on my vision board for years." But
So wait, did you like that scene or did you hate it?
oh yeah, I thought it was funny.
Okay.
As it was good physical acting on the guy's parts, kind of looking at Knuckles like he's just a complete idiot. Which he isn't. It's just he's a fish out of water. But I did like his it was fun. I like the costume. I like that take on the Eggman look. I think the jacket looks pretty was pretty sick. I like the take on the Eggmobile, though there were a couple of scenes when he was in it that the green screen looked pretty apparent.
Okay.
But that's again on just a technical side, and some people catch that, some people don't.
Right.
But I like the Buzz Bomber, badniks. Those were fun.
I don't even remember that one, but okay.
Yeah, when
this is one thing. Okay, I guess if I got a few nitpicks on this. I want some badniks I recognize.
Well, the trick is that they're all in the style of his drones from the first movie. Like, obviously, you've seen the trailer for the third one with the giant crab. That's clearly a crab meat. But
okay. So you're saying we're getting them. I'm just not paying attention.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
all
just,
right.
Well, it's more of like you don't know what to look for.
Okay. All right.
And I feel like, and please don't take this the wrong way, it's just like in some of those other, like in our Sat AMs, like I've noticed that, I'll find kind of a interesting little allusion or tie to, like when we were reviewing those Ultrasonic, and they had those little robot helpers that I thought looked like the Egg series, from Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, like Gamma and Omega, and you're like, oh, I didn't see that at all, but now I kind of see it. I think you just kind of, maybe it's because I've consumed more of the more recent games than you have.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, that's why you're here. Like, there's no way in hell I'm going to consume some of these things.
That's why I'm here, folks. So, yeah. So, I thought those were neat. I do wish you'd throw a little color on there.
Yeah, I could agree with that. It seems like it's a little... some of this movie kind of reminds me of, like, the Spider-Man series, where they have, like, this shimmer and this, like, gloss to them to, like, make it seem modern. Do I like it? Do I hate it? I don't
know. They overly seem like Apple products to me, and maybe it's just my
so Robotnik's an Apple guy. That's what you're saying.
He would. Okay. Except he wouldn't call it Apple. It'd be, egg.
Yeah. That checks out. Okay, so there was a Star Wars reference.
About it.
Go on.
He kind of looks like, if you go back to movie 1, he kind of gives off a Steve Jobs vibe. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. Okay, listeners, is a Robotnik an Apple guy? Are you listening on an Apple device? How Apple are you? Or are you a Pear? Or are you a Window? Or what's a Linux? I don't know.
I've never actually used Linux, but I've hired people to use it.
That's the thing, is you hire people to use Linux. Nobody uses Linux unless you're like, you love math and like numbers and code. Because
I know I can't say the company, one of my clients, he does use it, but they do, and I don't know why.
No, that's for real tech heads, for people who are really into tech, who are like, they're really into it. But okay, so one thing I wanted to ask you, there was a Star Wars reference in this movie. Did you see it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm trying to think, like, are we talking prequels? Are we talking original series?
If you remember, you remember.
I don't.
Okay, that's probably good. And then that means you don't remember. And that means it didn't stick out like a sore thumb. A sore thumb, I can speak. No. There's the scene where what is it? When Tails and Sonic, they meet up for the first time, and then they go to Wade's garage, and then they take the map that Longclaw gave them, and I forgot.
Oh, the little Force Ghost Longclaw scene?
Force Ghost. And I'm like,
there you go.
It all goes back to Star Wars, I'm telling you. Our SAT-AM review, we talked about how much Star Wars influenced probably SAT-AM. We can't get away from it, Malzilla. It's so pervasive in our culture. Unless it starts to go away at some point. I don't know. It seems like it is.
Yeah, maybe, kind of. We'll find out. But
yeah, I don't know if Disney can save it at this point.
They're gonna try. They're gonna
Oh
try.
oh yeah. I think we're getting like 3 new movies, right?
Yeah. I know. Star Wars, like Skeleton Crew, is airing right now on Disney Plus with Jude Law, but it's basically Space Goonies. Like, if you watch a trailer for that, it's basically, what if the 80s suburbs were in Star Wars? And it feels like there's a aesthetic clash. But again, we can talk about that later. I do want to bring up Longclaw again, because I know we talked about it in the last one, how Longclaw stands out because she's more animal than the game characters are.
Okay.
And it'd be one thing is if she was just a one and done for the first movie, but again, since they brought her back as the Force Ghost, and then they have the the kind of the cool little lore movie about the Master Emerald and the Chaos Emeralds, and I want to talk about that in a second, because what did you think? Okay, so let me finish my thought on Longclaw. It was, since they brought her back, it kind of feels like, okay, well, they can't really change her because she, they've established she looked like that. But I think they could have, tweaked her design to look her more Mobian, for a lack of a better word, or to define Sonic's people.
It's for us to bring it back, Melzilla. Mobian. I like the name. I like the words. Sega, what are you doing? Just use the words. Just say Mobian. I don't get it.
Yeah, you can say Mobius in these movies. It's not a problem.
Aye.
But
continue, please.
Let's talk about this, because this movie did 2 things where, if you're an Archie fan, you're gonna kind of laugh, because not only did they give Knuckles a dad, which they've never done outside the comics.
Yes.
But they also basically gave us Enter Jack at home, because they show, one of the Echidna warriors just hyped up on the Chaos Emeralds and the Master Emeralds, and he's green and he's got ultimate power. I'm like, that's Enter Jack. Ken's probably pissed.
Who cares?
I know, who doesn't, but it was
maybe he does. I don't know.
He probably doesn't, honestly. I think fans often think he cares, but he really doesn't.
I think it's just like probably fans just they want a villain that they want to like pin stuff on.
They do.
Because I don't know. I do a lot of as somebody who's a big Sonic fan, and I want to see what the fans are saying, and the places I go all over the internet. It's just sort of like, it's all like Kiwi Farms. It's all like drama alert. This is all like, YouTube drama stuff where like they always talk about like, if it's not Penders, it's Ian Flynn. If it's not Ian Flynn, it's someone else. So yeah. I don't know. It's just sort of like choose your poison, It's just, I don't know. I take everything what they say with a grain of salt. Going back to the idiot comment, you guys are great, but remember, you're idiots. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry to call you an idiot. I'm sorry. I really am. I'm going to do the whole shtick. I mean, just, I don't know. Sometimes, like, there's something called a paragola, or what's it called? Paragola. Sounds Jewish. No. Pareidolia. Help me out here. Where you see things, but they're not actually there. And I guess this is sort of like an internet problem. I mean, I do this too, where you see patterns and there's no pattern, but your mind wants you to believe that there is a pattern. Behold,
a psychological phenomena.
The 7 crystals, when they're all put together, you get superpowers, which I guess leads up to my question here.
Or summon a magic dragon, but hey.
Wait, summon a magic dragon? Oh yeah, Dragon Balls. Got it. Okay. No, here's my question. Do you know where it was decided that if you touch the Chaos Emerald, the green one, the Master Emerald, you become green like Knuckles?
Okay. So here's that. So Um, because this Master Emerald is very different than the one we have in the games. Because as they established that the Master Emerald, for all intents and purposes, is just like it's a box in the shape of an emerald for the Chaos Emeralds. So it's basically instead of like having to collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds, they're all just in the Master Emerald. So you get all the benefits of a super form. So, and mind you, this isn't the first time Eggman's had a kind of a super form because, you know, for all us oldies who remember Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, they actually had like a little mini arc of Robotnik collecting Chaos Emeralds and going super. He kind of looks like his power, he kind of looks like ends up looking like Jafar from Genie Jafar from Aladdin at the end. He's all big and buff. It's kind of funny.
Okay.
But the green, it's just green has always been the color associated with chaos.
Well, because the
Chaos
only time
Emerald.
I was looking at Robotnik, right? When, after, it gets to the point I almost on the top of my tongue, I almost said Jim Carrey instead of Robotnik because that's how much I saw Jim Carrey over Robotnik or Eggman. But let me just say it. I said the part where like Jim Carrey starts to touch the Chaos Emerald, he starts to turn green. He has like a different suit and everything, and I'm like, is this? And the first thing I thought of was Green Knuckles from the Archie series. So it's like, because I know later in the Archie series, like you have like Scourge who gets drunk off Chaos Emerald, and he turns green. Was this an Archie established thing? Or was this like in the games? I can't remember. Sonic fans who are so dedicated sorry if I called you an idiot a little while ago. Come back here. Tell me, what did I miss?
Who's the idiot now, Radrey?
Yeah, I guess so. Well, still, I don't know. All I'm saying is don't bully people online. It's not nice. That's all I'm trying to say.
So, like with the case with Knuckles, because Locke basically hooked up a energy cannon to the Chaos Emeralds of Angel Island and just shot it at Knuckles' egg, kind of gamma radiated it, a la the Hulk. So basically, the whole thing is at that time was that Knuckles was basically a living Chaos Emerald, and that he got pushed to the point where he basically turned green as his powers were kind of going off the rails. Scourge again was kind of, I think the choice was more to give him a artistically different than Sonic, because again, evil Sonic up until that point was just basically Sonic in a black leather jacket, boots, and sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of turn him more of a character, he used the Master Emerald to kind of mutate to, as opposed to blue fur with green eyes, he now had green fur and blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of, just be the whole mirror, image of Sonic. So I'd say it's probably more artistic than anything, but they just, and even in the, the little Chaos Emerald, Master Emerald origin story, they kind of showed that when the echidna who had it first absorbed it, he kind of started to glow green too. So just probably something. Yeah.
So we can't say they stole all of Penda's ideas.
No, they
He's
can't.
got to come back. He's got to fight them Paramount gods. To fight for his green Knuckles. That.
Good luck with that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mess with their lawyers.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to make this. I'm trying to make Pender sound greater than he really is. But I don't know. I want to. Penders, if you're listening, I know you're not. I want to make you sound awesome. Yeah, and watch, I'm gonna get a Dan thumb for saying that. Somebody out there is like that guy who's called me an idiot and he likes Penders. I'm giving him a down thumb. Like, thank you first of all for making it this far. If you're still listening, and if you're still listening, I do have more to say. Malzilla, this is one of the things I wanted to ask. Was there any part of this movie that made you think of Disney's Aladdin?
I could see some of the Cave of Wonders between the Owl Temple in Siberia and the
You can't see me,
homage
but I'm
to
shaking my fingers. It wasn't that, but okay, keep going.
I was gonna say the Labyrinth Zone type homage, but that's about it.
Okay. The whole thing, I mean, maybe you'll disagree with me here, but the whole thing with like Robotnik, getting the Chaos Emerald and then building this own mecha with his own, I don't know, what do you call that? Electric powers. Yeah, chaos powers, where he was able to take the metal in the surrounding area to build his own giant mecha of himself that looks like the games.
The Death Egg Robo.
Yeah. Do you remember that scene in the end of Aladdin where Jafar finally becomes a genie? And he's like,
phenomenal cosmic power, itty bitty living space.
Well, that was Robin Williams, but Jafar was sort of like, I'm the most powerful genie. I mean, this is my horrible Jafar voice, but there's a certain point where it's like, what is Robotnik's goal here? Like, he just wants to go through with his whole shtick, or he just like, well, I get. Go on, tell me what's going on. Help me out here.
Okay, so basically, he built that as kind of because old Commander Walter is, Olive Garden guy, and Tom are kind of calling him out at the mean bean, saying that he's nothing without his machine since they like confiscated everything. So he says, oh. So he basically kind of just, to placate his own ego, he takes all the pieces from wherever to create, the giant robot. So just kind of proving that he can create anything at that point. And, it's very topical to the Sonic franchise. But again, he just wanted to, enslave humanity, conquer the Earth, kill the Hedgehog. Because he kind of tells him, he's like, Sonic's like, so what's your plan here? He's like, first I'll enslave humanity. Then I'll conquer the universe. Maybe I'll conquer the multiverse. I don't know. Maybe that'll be enough. So he's kind of just really making it up as he goes along.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So he's just being, what's the word? Provocative, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Okay. What a goofball, I mean, it's just sort of like, imagine if I didn't know who Jim Carrey was. Like, I'm from another planet, and like this is the only thing I know Jim Carrey from. I would start to think that, like, this guy's like Jar Jar Binks in, like, Sonic the Hedgehog. Mind you, I actually like Jar Jar Binks. I know this is a very unpopular opinion. I did not mind him. I mean, I understand why people find him annoying and why it takes people out of it. Mind you, I also like the Knuckles series, which I also think is awful. But that's sort of how I felt while watching this movie. It did have a different experience this time around. I will say that much. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy this movie. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, another question for you, Malzilla here. I have another question about the emeralds, about how these things work. So in the movie, right, if you say the reason why they got activated again was... Oh, no. Just for our listeners out there who haven't seen the film, we probably should have said these are spoilers, but they probably know at this point. I mean, the movie's old enough. If you haven't watched, why are you this far in the movie? Maybe they find us so entertaining. If you do, give us a thumbs up. I got to plug my stuff whenever I'm here. But anyway, I'm digressing a lot. My question here is, what activates the chaos powers to like actually make people, have powers? Because it seemed like when, Sonic touched the emerald, it shattered and disintegrated into dust, and then in the smaller emeralds. But the thing that, brought him together to make him supersonic, spoilers, well, too late now, was, Mike and, Mike. Tom, why am I calling him Mike? Mike Wachowski, different IP. Tom and Maddie, they both, hold hands with Sonic, who's, had his ass kicked from Robotnik and his huge mecha. and they pretty much utter the words family, and then he becomes supersonic, similar to how the first movie where he says he's my friend. It was like the secret, how would you say that, the open sesame, the magic words, like he said please, he's got to become supersonic now.
Um, again, I think this just kind of maybe a slightly just trying to over rationalize, because again, if you think about it, the Chaos Emeralds have always kind of just been the Deus Ex Machina of like the powers, like they never really go into how they work or how to activate them. It's just like just oftentimes they just pop up. Like if you go back to Sonic Adventure 2, when Shadow and Sonic go super, they start basically shaking their hands like they're jacking off, and it's like, okay, that's one way of doing it, I guess.
What? What? When did this happen?
How long have you been since you've played SA2?
SA2? I don't even remember this. Okay.
Oh, hold on, let me send you that GIF.
All right, we probably should just share it in the server or something, because like probably people are gonna be listening at this point. Like, the hell is he talking about? Maybe it should just be the thumbnail for this episode. No. I can't do that. I can't do that. This is an adult show. All right, this is the reason why we put explicit warnings on this.
Dang it. Hold on. Let me. I think it's better in motion. So.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, folks.
I mean, I know it. What is it? I know this is an audio show, and like the worst thing you could do is describe something that nobody can see. So I will put a link in the description if you're listening to this. Mind you, this is an adult show. I'm going to say that 500 times.
Here you are.
Okay. All right. I'll watch it right now. Okay. I better turn off the volume. This is absolute cinema here. Oh wait, this is long. Like what
Just
part?
The worst, like watch the first like minute and a half.
Okay. How did you make this connection? Is this a 4chan thing?
No, just watch it.
All right, I'm watching it. He's spinning the emerald. The emerald's spinning. I might cut this part out.
Well, you see what they're doing with their hands, right?
Maybe?
Rewind it. When, like, they raise their hands up, Live and Learn starts to play, the emeralds start circling around them, they close their eyes, and they start, like, jacking their hands.
Okay.
Like, or they're, like, rolling dice if you want, if you want to do the PG version.
Okay. Anyway, continue. Where were we going with this?
I kind of derailed this. So basically, they just activate. I kind of wanted to make, like, if I wanted to overthink it, I'd go back to Sonic Adventure, and they talk about the Master Emerald prayer, Tikal's prayer. Excuse me. The silvers are the 7 chaos. Chaos's power enriched by the heart.
Okay.
So, I guess I've always just kind of written off that the Chaos Emeralds, if you open your heart, Crush 40, please don't demonetize us, because they, even in the movie they talk about this is the power to change thoughts into reality. So, whatever, maybe Sonic's thought was, I want to save my family, and then the Chaos Emerald's like,
changing your thoughts into a reality. That's actually interesting.
Well, again, thought, it's the power of thought. I mean, I think Ian described it in Archie that like chaos control, the powers of chaos is the turn, to make wishes into reality or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. I'd say that checks out. I mean, no. I'm gonna name drop Silent Hill 2 here again. It's sort of like the force that is Silent Hill. It feeds on your transgressions or your insecurities, I guess you could say. what is it? The chaos emerald feeds on your thirst for adventure. I don't know. Does that check out?
It's the same concept, you know.
Okay. All right. All right. Works for me.
You know, again, I want to say it properly.
Okay. Say it proper.
Okay, yes, it's here. The servers are the seven chaos. Chaos is power. Power is enriched by by the heart. The controller is the one that unifies the chaos. So again,
Okay.
emphasis. The whole thing is chaos is power enriched by the heart.
Okay.
Is even when Robotnik goes super quote air quotes here, people. He says, you know, chaos is power. Which actually leads me to kind of, if I may tangent off into some Sonic 3 speculation. You know, one of the taglines that Shadow has used is, I'm here to unleash chaos. Now, obviously, we know the Chaos Emeralds are going to show up. What role they'll have, I'm honestly think they're just going to show up last minute as like the ultimate Deus Machina that they usually are. But I think the novelizations of movie 1 and 2 have kind of referenced that the power that Sonic, Knuckles, Shadow, even Tails has to extent is chaos power, but they haven't really talked about what that power is, why they have it.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, you know, maybe they'll dive a little bit into the lore because of that power, because again, we don't even really know what Shadow is in this movie because, well, obviously he's an alien hedgehog, but and Gerald created him supposedly, but so where how did he create a hedgehog? You know, an alien hedgehog. Again, there's a lot of questions that I think that we're
I'm
kind
sure
of,
the movie will answer it or kind of hand wave some
well,
of it away.
maybe they'll try, but I think a lot of the questions that you've talked about, like where did the emeralds go? You know, besides pulling a Dragon Ball, just shoot up in the air and scatter across the world, move. But like
Yes. Where's the
all this,
lore? We need more of this lore.
I was gonna say, yeah. So I think there's some lore that we're gonna get maybe in the next film that kind of resets some rules for this world regarding the powers that these characters have and why that makes them significant. Because again, it's one of those things whereas like in Sonic 1, Longclaw's telling Sonic that the echidnas are after his power. While in 2, it's like, oh no, they were after Longclaw because they wanted to find the Master Emerald. But she
Okay.
also talks about how like she's never met anyone like him, like the power of his heart. Again, where did he come from? Why was he born with these abilities? Why were people after him? I feel like there's a lot of like lore that, they probably, for reasons that they just don't want to go that into detail, they kind of just like leaving it up in the air because it's easier that way. Let the crazy fans come up with what they want. We're too lazy to do it ourselves. But I feel like we're gonna get some lore bombs in this movie, or maybe shortly, in the next phase of Sonic films. Because again, this might be the end of Phase 1, but apparently,
Well,
if
you
things
gotta
go
sort
the
of
way,
introduce lore bombs. Otherwise, how do you keep the series going?
that's true, and I think that's, I think because I know we've talked about, because they revealed that there's going to be 2 post-credit stingers. There's going to be one a mid-credit stinger and then one at the very end of the film. So, we got to set something up for 4, the probable Shadow movie, maybe a Knuckles season 2,
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
and all that jazz.
Yeah. Uh, I gotta tell you, it's really interesting going through these movies again and watching Wade. Like, I know who that is. I recognize that character. That sort of thing. But I don't know. Well, I think that's all I got, Malzilla. I don't have
Um,
anything else to say about this movie. I mean, I feel like I
um,
had a lot more to say about the first movie than this one.
well, I think actually, I do want to ask you
Okay, shoot.
because I think we've talked about everything but the big elephant in the room. And
Okay,
I'm not saying this isn't a derogatory term. We didn't talk about the wedding, Rachel and Randall.
we need
I
to talk
wanted to
about the
get your.
wedding. That
I
was
feel
such an
we do.
afterthought for me.
Really, because it's one of those things where, like, it almost like I talked. I'm gonna throw out our good friend of the show and listener, Chevelle. She talked to me one time, told me if like it felt like that whole like 7 minute scene felt like said, "Hey, this is intermission. Go use the restroom," and I kind of like agreed and disagreed with that at the same time because like on one hand it's giving Maddie something to do and I like Maddie as a character. I want to see her more involved. But it's also highlighting why I think sending them off to Hawaii was not a great decision for the story because it's more fun when she and Tom are involved. But at the same time, while Rachel isn't on the level of say Wanda Whipple, there's not much going on with her as a character, and this whole like I'm the angry bridezilla, and Randall, he's one of those things where it's like he could be an interesting character. Like the actor who plays him, Shamar Moore, he's good. It's kind of a case of I felt like they could have done more, but more in line with the actual Sonic story instead of we're gonna throw Sonic tails in cages with Tom and it's up to the girls to set him free and Rachel to angrily drive a golf cart set to Barracuda by Heart. Oh, speaking of that, what did you think of the music choices for the movie? Really,
That's a good question. Um, there are parts that gave me flashbacks to the Mario movie. Like, well, yep, the obligatory, hero song, the this song. Like I could tell that. Like, oh, what was it? I know there's that sequence you really enjoy. There's a Super Freak. Shit, I can't remember now. The one where they're in
what
Siberia and then they had to do the
the
dance off.
Uptown Funk, Uptown
Uptown
Funk.
Funk. You like that sequence, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
dude,
obviously that
it,
was.
it, it, it suited that scene because it's a dance fight, and Sonic just pops his iPhone into the aux cord and
All
says,
right, that's fair. I'm just
"Yeah,
saying, like moments like that, where it's like obviously the script writers wrote this in as like, because they say, I mean, back when I was like taking screenplay classes, they would always tell me, don't write a song into your movie because you don't know if they'll agree to let you use that song, right? And that's what I'm thinking of when I'm hearing this song. I'm just thinking of some writer typing things in. But I mean, it didn't take me out of it. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like oh god, this writing thing. I'm thinking about plot devices and
It's really
writers and
funny now
stuff.
that I think about the songs because there was only a few of them. There was the the Get Tricky opening when Sonic's in Seattle. He's like, like, I think it's very vital, blah blah blah.
Oh, tricky.
They had yeah, get tricky as he's chasing like the Brinks truck. They had the
I guess okay. Let me stop you here. I do really feel like some of these song choices they do fit Sonic more so than like Mario, where they felt like
yeah.
some of these Spotify playlists just got leaked into the movie. Whereas like Tricky feels like Sonic mentions it. He's self-referential. He does the Deadpool thing. Even if like 20 years from now, people will still remember this time period of this version of Sonic. So I guess I don't mind it. With this being said,
Yeah, I think you're right. I do think he works pretty well because Sonic by nature is very pop culture. Like this Sonic is very Deadpool-esque. He's very pop culture, you know, driven. So him liking popular stuff. Yeah. I'm curious what if they'll have any music needle drops for Sonic 3 outside of whatever they're gonna do with Live and Learn because we know that's gonna show up. But Is there anything else we want to talk about?
I mean, I guess the big thing about this movie overall, it did what it needed to do. It hit all the beats it needed to hit. Is it a masterpiece? No. Was it fun to
I will
watch?
say
Did I
this.
enjoy it the second viewing? I got through it. The girlfriend watched part of it with me. So I mean, if
Yeah,
she's
that's positive.
invested, then it's a good experience.
I will say this. I do remember when I saw it in theaters, how people went crazy when Shadow popped up in the stinger. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, it's that movie. If it hadn't done as well as it did, we wouldn't have Sonic 3, wouldn't have the Knuckles show.
Yeah.
And, you know, so, and, I think it can't be said enough how the success of these movies has given a bunch of adrenaline shots into the franchise.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
I know some people probably, I know, have taken issue with a variety of things, but I think you kind of have to, if you're, and a lot of this is coming from your SOJ purists, the adventure, if you got into during the adventure era, or if you just generally don't like anything that comes out of America, it feels like this is a common opinion from those groups of fans. And I don't want to generalize because, if you prefer the stuff from Sega of Japan over Sega of America, that's fine. Again, don't be a dick about it. And I'm trying not to be a dick because I prefer the more Sega of America stuff. But I feel like people don't want to admit how the stuff that can't has come out of the US has kept the franchise afloat. Like, if they hadn't localized Sonic back in the 90s, I don't know if the franchise would have, you know, been as successful. Because, the Genesis in the States carried the franchise for so many years because it wasn't that big in Japan. We've talked about that ad nauseum. And, now that it's Hollywood that has not just, injected life into I mean, Sonic was still going on, but everyone was just it was the definition of mid. And people were hoping for mid because it seemed all that Sega could do at the point. You know. So I think this has added a lot of electric. This is just a much needed jump start to the franchise. Um Now obviously I like how they're running parallel what Hollywood and Paramount are doing versus what Sega's doing in the games, and they're kind of feeding off each other as opposed to almost just being completely separate and allowing the fans to just kind of do what they want. So I don't know. I think I'm kind of starting to ramble and not make sense, but these movies have been good for the franchise. I think they do need to I think they should do more, but I think I don't know if necessarily I'd like to see more movies. Everyone's been they've been talking about a Shadow spinoff project, either a show or a movie, for over a year now, while this movie has been in production. And obviously they have Keanu, and they know he sells movie tickets, so that's feasible. And again, heck, even at the premiere, Idris and Keanu said, "Hey, we should do a Shadow and Knuckles spinoff." And I threw out meme that I made like 3 years ago in the server of the Fast and the Furious presents Shadow and Nux
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to Hobbs and Shaw, so
Yeah.
or Nux and Shadow, but I think if we, especially in when eventually we get to the Knuckles show and we look at what worked, what few things worked, and a lot of things didn't work, or just didn't land the way that Paramount wanted.
Yeah.
I think if they're going to stay in this human CG animal environment without going full animated, unless you're going to give each episode a really high budget, and I'm not talking like season 8 Game of Thrones episode budgets, which were ridiculous, and they still did a shitty
Well,
job of that.
hmm,
But
that season 8,
I
like what a waste of time. But yeah.
it's I still burn to this day. But the fact that again they're gonna need money to invest in these if they want to do if they want to do further TV shows, because all these characters, they cost money. And I think everyone kind of is coming out of that Knuckles show saying, you better, if you're going to do another TV show, I want to watch Knuckles, not and Knuckles, or, Wade and Knuckles. So, I think the movies may be the better avenue,
Okay.
but I also understand that, those are a lot more financial risks because you do have to invest in more money. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see what happens. I think that's basically all that I have to say. Oh, there is one more thing. It's not exactly Sonic movie related, but uh, I think I mentioned a episode ago what we think the plans for Sega in Sonic games in 2025, and at the time of this recording, the VGAs were the night prior. Now, the Knuckles show was nominated for best adaptation into media. It lost to Fallout for many good reasons. I think if it won, I think people would go, "What the hell's going on with this world?" But they did tease a new Sonic game, and the funny thing is in the teaser, Sonic wasn't even in it. It opens up on Shadow's, racer from Team Sonic Racing, and you see Shadow walk up to it with his little key fob and to start the engine. So we got Sonic Racing Crossworlds. What's the name of that? Yeah, Sonic Racing Crossworlds, which has led a lot of fans to kind of wonder, is this the Sonic Prime but racing, or maybe we finally get the Freedom Fighters, we get Racer Sally.
I don't
We
think
won't,
so.
but like fools, we will hold on to hope that maybe one day Sega will finally throw us a bone. Throw
Mm-hmm.
us a bone, Sega. Let us race as Sally.
Uh,
Please. Please,
sure.
Sega.
Yeah. Well, I have thoughts on that. I was gonna actually comment on that whole SOJ comment you just made.
Oh, go ahead.
Actually, two things. I mean, not to sound like this. I'm your Sonic dad. I'm your Sonic dad, and I tell you all these things about all the wise wisdom you need to listen to me. I'm not trying to be like that. I'm not trying to be condescending, but I am trying to make sense out of this world that we live in. Because anybody who tells you they have all the answers, they don't. They clearly don't. And if they do, I'm willing to
They're selling
listen.
stuff.
Well, let me tell you. Tell me what your answers are. Tell me what all the answers are in the world. Without going too far deep into that rabbit hole, I want to say that remember there is no accounting for tastes. Just remember this. There's no way to what that means is basically there's no way to really understand why people like something while other people do not. So, and another thing too. The Kurt Vonnegut quote that I quite like a lot, the beginning of one of his books, Mother Night, where he says, if there's one moral, there's one, thing that people should learn is be careful who you pretend to be. So, for example, if you're writing something derogatory or very negative, like on 4chan or the internet or Twitter X or where it is or wherever is we, I should say, the royal we, wherever it is we, congregate or meet up, and you use derogatory slurs or you say negative things or you put down other people, just remember that if you pretend to be something like that, people will automatically, label you as that. You'll be labeled a racist, or or something, an association you don't want to be associated with. So, for example, if you're a big SOJ fan, it's perfectly fine to like SOJ. Mind you, Sega of Japan and the stuff that they produce. It's just you don't need to girl boss, gatekeep, and gaslight us into your headspace. That's all I'm saying.
We will gaslight ourselves. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's our tagline for this episode. We'll gaslight ourselves. Thank you very much. Get out of here. What are you doing? No.
One day we should talk about how I think the Sonic fandom has gaslit itself into thinking that Sonic 06 is misunderstood. Because I think
we'll get there when we get there.
Well, that's true.
One other thing I guess I could say before we close. I guess, now talking about this movie now, and opposed to, on the preamble to Sonic 3, I imagine we're probably going to get new characters at the very end, or they're going to introduce some sort of new character thing. Because I imagine that, like, probably Amy, Blaze, Silver, Barouge, the Babylon Rogues, the Team Chaotix, all these other, like, characters, we'll probably get them at some point, and we'll probably get more human characters that they're going to try to get us to like, what's his name? Pistol Pete? Pistol Pete, and Wade, and I don't know, Randall, or what's her name? Not JoJo, but Rachel. Thank you. They'll probably like to get us to like these characters, and as sad as it is, I really do feel like characters like Sally and the Freedom Fighters kind of at the bottom of the barrel, and plus like they're in limbo with like rights issues. So it's sort of like we have to keep fighting for them. We have to keep remembering the memory. We have to keep I hate to like push a capitalist message, but I sort of feel like I have to if we want to see our chipmunk again.
The Western capitalist dogs and their chipmunk.
Yeah, and so I sort of have to push this. Buy Sonic Media, show us who you are, and if there's any jerks out there, remember you're not alone. No, not that you're a jerk. No, we're not congregating jerks. We have rules. We have a servant. We have rules. I'm saying you're not alone in terms of like, having somebody else to talk to share what it is you enjoy about this character and this franchise. And the people are real people. It's not just AI bots all talking to each other, which is a thing.
I have a final thought for you.
Okay.
A final question, to end this on of
a Jeopardy final thought. Let's do it.
Because obviously one of the things I love about doing this show with you, Radrey, is that as much as we like similar things, we like them for very different reasons.
Okay.
So it kind of creates this interesting discussions that we have. I've also kind of picked up that you and I have also even though we like the same things, we also have different tastes in things. So, and
right.
We've talked about what you want from various things in the Sonic franchise to enjoyable.
Right.
And so now that we've watched these first two movies, they're fresh in our minds. We enjoy them. They might not be absolute cinema peak fiction, though some people think movie 3 is heading in that direction. What would you like to see from movie 3 to say, you know what? I really enjoyed this. This is a good movie. What would you like to see that movie do?
I guess I don't know. For me, I kind of want to see it to be kind of like. I know they're definitely not going to go this route, but because it wouldn't work story wise, because they have to work with what the elements they have, and they have to please a certain number of people. And
let me also rephrase the question. What does this movie have to do so you're not just whelmed?
So I'm not just whelmed.
It's like chipping in, because we joke about like, oh, did you like it? It's fine.
Manage my expectations. That's all I could really say.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. Introduce a character that I was not expecting. I'm not saying something like introduce, I don't know, Chris Thorndike. I'm not saying that. Or
Amelia
I guess
Clark is Sally Acorn.
Well,
manifest.
they're not gonna do that. But I mean,
I know,
what is
but
it? Like, okay, how about this? Like, they introduce Chris Thorndike and they paint him in a way that's like interesting. That appeals to mostly people. And I'm like, hell yeah, Chris Thorndike, right? It's sort of like give a spin or like show me like some sort of like perspective or a look on how these characters they fit more into our modern world because I think what's really important, what makes a great story, is something where you understand what's going on in the zeitgeist. Because I always want to follow people who seem to understand what's going on, better than I can, or either A, that, or B, they see something in a different way that I definitely see it. So it's sort of like when I commission artwork, or if I make a YouTube video or something, I do want to see how other people react to it. And it's a bit disheartening when like there's no reaction to it, or there's nothing. Even in negative comments, it's just sort of like even those are kind of welcome. But I guess in terms of what I want to see, I really feel like it's kind of hard to like say. It's kind of hard to really being on the spot like this. You already know what I want, but I have to work with the people that already have what they can work with, right? Because from what I understand is they can only really do references from the games, but maybe you could introduce some sort of element that you could work really hard to dig up and shine that you've checked with. I mean, some like you get somebody like Ian, because he has a lot of experience with understanding like how the fandom reacts and like how to gauge their expectations. So I sort of feel like repurposing the Sonic movies and the writing in a way that feels fresh and that feels like complimentary. That's basically the best way to sort of write this. Now, I'm not saying that I'm a better writer or I could write better than they could, but again, nothing is beyond criticism. You should always sort of be critical, always have a critical eye. And even if I do always act whelmed, it's mostly out of managing my expectations. So if you learn anything today, it's about that.
Okay. Well, I think that's all we have for today. The next time you'll be hearing from us will either be at the end of the year or early next year as we discuss this movie 3, as we talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, what we thought they could have done better, how much money is it gonna make, and what are the future of the franchise, because this is kind of an interesting thing where the success of this is really going to determine where things go from here, and I think we're all kind of excited to see where they go. So yeah, I think that's the end all be all of it.
So I guess the best way to end this is later, hater.
Later, haters.
Oh, it's like that? Okay, we're not friends. Later, haters!